meeting. Good morning, all. Thank you for attending. I'm Pamela Giardini. I'm on the board of directors for Temple Community Service District. Khulud, who's also on the board, is running a few minutes late, so we're going to go ahead and start the meeting without her. And this is my first time running this meeting, so I will kind of make my way through it. Do we need to take roll?
We can.
Okay.
Giardini,
Here.
Marlowe,
Here.
and Pearson, absent.
And pledge allegiance.
We can, we don't use it.
No. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first agendized item, or the first item on the agenda is to appoint a committee chair, and I think I will reposition that to the end of the calendar since my other person isn't here, so I don't think it's fair for me to just appoint myself. First, maybe Eric might be able to vote coming too. So they'll go on to the commit to hear from Mid-State Solid Waste and Recycling to the Waste Management.
Yeah, I can give you just a little bit of background. You'll likely recall that the district had an arrangement or a franchise agreement with Mid-State Solid Waste for 20 some odd years. Last May, they informed us that Mid-State informed us that they were selling their operation to Waste Management. There was a process, a review process that we in the county undertook simultaneously, kind of in a partnership, and both the Templeton CSD, the board of directors and the county board of supervisors approved the assignment from Mid-State Solid Waste to Waste Management. The franchise agreement remains in place. It's the same arrangement, same agreement we've had for 12 years now. And November 1st, Waste Management took over, but began that operation serving our residents. And so it was customers generally didn't have to do anything. The same containers stayed at their sites, although they started working with teams if there were requests for services. And we asked, there was some issues with that in terms of just getting the billing sorted out and how customer service worked, and there were we experienced a few. Some customers experienced a few challenges. We asked Waste Management to provide kind of an update on the status of the transition and how things are going now. We're 5 months into that. Four completed months into our 5th month since that transition began. And Waste Management's well represented here today and can address any questions that you have. We did provide, or they provided, this written report that's kind of touches on a lot of the issues. And we provided that to the committee earlier in the week when the packet went out. So maybe I just start with asking them if they have some comments, and then you can ask questions about the report or however you'd like to go about it.
Okay. Do you have a comments or presentation, or just that you provided this to us?
It's one of those things that appreciate Jeff for keying it up. Just to reintroduce myself, I'm Josh Mann. I'm the Regulatory and Compliance Manager for WM, servicing our Southern California market area. I've also been working directly with Jeff and staff to help facilitate the transition process on the paperwork side. I also have brought the team that's actually doing the heavy lifting, if you will. And I'd love to take a moment to introduce them. We've got Stacy Walters, who is our district manager. Stacy is no stranger to the Central Coast. Been with WM probably too many years, more years than he wants to count. He basically grew up in the business and really has taken this transition by the reins and led the transition of our employees and some work we've been doing at the facility here in Templeton. And we'll get into some of those details in a little bit. Supporting Stacy is Randy Mills. Randy's maybe a familiar face to you. So Randy came over to us from Midstate, and we couldn't be more thankful to have his expertise, both in terms of the business of servicing the customers here in Templeton, as well as his expertise about the community in general. We've really tapped into him as you know, both an expert in the business and an expert in the community. And then you'll see a new face to some of you folks, for better or for worse. Luis Ramirez, who was with us and was supporting our education and outreach efforts here in Templeton, had a job opportunity that he could not pass up. And so we were sorry to see him go. He'd done some great work for us in supporting the transition, but he left us as of January. And in the interim, we have Liz Gomez. So Liz is also no stranger to the Central Coast. She's been working with the city of Atascadero for well over a decade. So very familiar with the business in terms of representing WM, but also the needs and specific dynamics of working with the IWMA and certainly working here in San Luis Obispo County. And I don't foresee that she will be the long-term support for Templeton. And the reason why I say that is that we've actually posted to replace Luis. In fact, I sent over that requisition to Jeff. Our hope, if we can find that right person, is to have somebody who lives here in Templeton be the person that fills that position. That way they could live and work in the same community, which I think is always a bonus. And so that requisition is open today. So if you know of anybody who they don't necessarily need to know the waste and recycling business, we can certainly teach them that. But I need somebody who is passionate about serving the community, maybe passionate about sustainability. Those are all huge positives for us. And so that is our team that's here with us today. And in addition to that, I've also outlined a few of the other folks that certainly support the CSD and the franchise, and just showing that the full breadth of what you get with WM, and it really is a team effort. So if you don't mind, I've got a few highlights. I'm not necessarily going to go through every page of the document that we provided, but certainly want to hit on a couple of things just in light of the transition. The transition overall, I would say, was fairly successful from an operational standpoint. There were no lapses in service. That ultimately, really no significant changes, as Jeff alluded to, at the curb. Customers were able to keep their same containers, their same service day, their same friendly, now WM driver. We brought over as many of the Midstate folks to our team as wanted to move along with us. And so we were happy to do that. Really did smooth out the transition from an operational standpoint. Where we did run into some challenges was on the billing side. And I'm proud to say that, thankfully, nobody was ended up having to pay a incorrect amount, that ultimately we were able to catch those items and work out those billing discrepancies with each customer on an individual basis. So it wasn't a widespread issue, but unfortunate, and we certainly apologize to anybody that was impacted by that. As technology can be a huge help, it can also sometimes present some unique challenges that weren't anticipated, but ultimately were easily fixable. So good to see that we were able to get through that. Other highlights I wanted to make sure that we highlighted was the local office. For some folks, maybe that weren't sure all what went into the transition for Midstate, that we did acquire Midstate's facility here in Templeton. They're on Las Cruz Way. That facility still operates in the same capacity it operated in previously, and the fact that You could bring material there. You could certainly come in and talk to the staff there should you have a question or a service need. So none of that has changed. We also do take the initial customer service calls at that facility. So if you're calling WM, you're initially going to be calling us here right in town. I would say what we've added onto that is the fact that knowing that if everybody calls at the same time, there's only so many folks of us that are actually working in the office and wanting to make sure that we're supporting the customer's needs when they want it. And so from that standpoint, that the system has got some additional features that have been added with the transition. That being is that for additional call volume beyond what we can support locally, that rolls to our customer experience center for Southern California. Talking about a very highly trained, highly skilled group of people. We need that obviously in Southern California. We support well over 1 million customers. At any one time, we can support about 175 calls. How that works from a programmatic standpoint is ultimately if you're here in Templeton and that's where you end up in terms of your response is that those trained representatives have the same information that we have here locally. We call it our knowledge base. It's got all of the specific requirements and services that are outlined for Templeton. And it's all set up to be automated so that when your call is incoming, it automatically syncs to if the numbers match to your account information, or they can pull up, in terms of the services you have, your current or previous billing, and can make service changes based on the scope of service that's outlined in the knowledge base. So, so that is how the system works on a programmatic basis. We also do trainings with our experienced team, knowing that they don't live here in Templeton. So it's hard to expect that they would know everything. But for those pertinent factors, that they have daily huddles for those folks that are taking calls for that day to ensure that they're as up to date as we can make them on the things that are going on right here in Templeton that day. So that's how that system works. I will say some additional things for those folks who maybe like, I don't really want to call you and I don't want to come visit you, but I do need some stuff taken care of. That we also have the ability for you to log in online. So we've created some local sites for Templeton for both our commercial customers as well as our residential customers. And those folks have the ability to handle a lot of the most common services or service needs through our online system. I know that Jeff let me know that he had a chance to use our live chat feature to get something done. And so I'm glad to hear that those services are performing in terms of servicing Templeton, that for those folks who don't want to place a phone call or come and visit us in person, that you can live chat, you can use their self-service functionality. We also have an app for your smartphone or tablet, and that's another option for once you've created your MyWM account profile to be able to transact business. It's also via our app. So try and serve Templeton in the way that Templeton wants to be served, knowing that people's schedules differ. Not everybody is able to do business from 9 to 5. Maybe they want to do it at midnight in their pajamas, and still making that available to folks here in Templeton. Additionally, in terms of getting back to the office, we have done some site improvements. You'll notice obviously the new sign out front. Stacy and his team have also done quite a bit of cleanup and organizing. And our hope is that here in the near future, we would love to invite the CSD board and certainly the committee here and staff to come and take a tour. Some folks I know have been there, some folks have not, and we'd love that opportunity to kind of showcase the things that we've done to bring the facility up to WM standard of operating. Midstate ran a great business, but there's a WM way of doing business, and we're not shy about that. We're proud of the fact that WM is focused on things like safety and organization and efficiency. That really does help us take care of our customers and keep our staff and our customers safe. around here. The other things that we've been working on, and we're going to continue to work on, is our education and outreach efforts. So thus far, each one of our customers here in Templeton have received some information included with their invoice with regards to the amenities of their service and best practices for utilizing their service. We're going to continue to work with Jeff to make sure that we are providing that timely information. That information is also available via the website. So some folks would prefer not to get a paper bill. They can have the opportunity to go paperless. They'll have a link within the online version of their bill to any inserts, but they'll also have the ability to download it straight from the website. It's all right there. You don't have to even log in. So all the service guides, the kind of what goes where, other sorts of good, helpful information, as well as we know that events are going to be coming up. We'll be posting information about cleanups, other things that would be pertinent to the community. One of the big things for us is that we want to carry on the legacy that Midstate had of being involved in the community. And since we've come on board here in November, that we've tried to step up in the same ways that Midstate might step up, and maybe in some additional ways. And to that end, that I know we supported initially right off the bat Wreaths Across America. We've joined the Chamber of Commerce. We're supporting concerts in the park and the rec district. So the plan is to continue to roll that out, and hopefully as we get a permanent person on board to support our education and outreach efforts, that will not only expand those opportunities where we can get involved with the community on a face-to-face basis, but also start up our direct technical assistance, where we're actually going out and making site visits. Really does help build that relationship such that folks, they have questions, they have somebody directly that they can call who is knowledgeable about their services and can provide an immediate answer. So really are focused on getting that in place, and hopefully by maybe next month, as early as next month, that we'll have that on board and be able to start rolling that out. And then I definitely want to mention the IWMA. The great thing that Templeton has as a partner in the Integrated Waste Management Authority here in San Luis Obispo County. And to that end, they provide a lot of support structure in terms of 1383 outreach and ensuring compliance with the facets of the regulation, including contamination minimization and properly utilizing all three services, right? The stuff that is landfill bound is ending up in the black container. The stuff that should be recycled is ending up in the blue container, and the organic materials are ending up in the green container. And we've got a great working relationship with the IWMA, as Liz can attest to. And we are in regular communication with them about their activities here in Templeton, and working collectively to make sure that ultimately the support and compliance assistance is delivered to the CSD, such that it can turn around and report to the state that we checked all the boxes and everything's good. And then finally, I wanted to kind of give some next steps of things that we are working on, kind of pursuant to things we talked about with the transition. One is we're getting ready to start a complete field audit, basically ensuring that what we have in our system that was carried over from Midstate is actually what's at the curb in front of the home, or at the place of business here in Templeton. So really matching up container sizes, counts, taking a look at the quality of those containers to ensure that ultimately we're operating in a way that is safe for our customers and for our team. We're also using that as a planning tool. The part of 1383 regulation has to do with the transition of container colors to a scheme that is compliant with the statewide color scheme. And so that will give us a good idea of where things stand today and where we may need to get to prior to the 2036 deadline. And so hopefully at an upcoming meeting, I'll be able to provide you an update of where things stand with the results of that audit. We're also going to be working on getting that position filled as quickly as possible with the right person. We'll continue to be working with IWMA, and then finally looking at preparations for the future. That while 1383 is the most significant change in how we handle solid waste in the last 30 or 40 years, there's a couple of other regulations that are moving forward. One with transitioning to a fleet that is emission-free. And I know that's something that the district will also be working on with their own vehicles. But being able to start planning that out and working in concert with the district to be able to demonstrate how we're going to do that when that time comes. And then we know that the state has a desire to increase the amount of materials that are recyclable. And so SB 54 is the latest major piece of recycling legislation. Has to do with working with manufacturers and a third-party entity called a PRO, Producer Responsibility Organization, to maximize the things that we all come into contact with on a daily basis that can be recycled, and ensuring that is a closed loop. So we'll be working obviously with the district to provide updates as those regulations come into play and how that may affect the program from a standpoint of how the agreement is written and ultimately what the resident or business may need to do in response. So that in a nutshell, I try to be as concise as I could, is where things stand today. Again, I appreciate the patience of this committee and the district. Transitions are rarely ever easy, especially in this case coming from Midstate, who I know was very beloved by a good portion of the community and very involved. And our hope is that if given a little bit of time, that we'll be able to be as effective or more effective than Midstate was in terms of meeting the needs of Templeton.
Thank you for that summary report. Are there any questions? You're all on. Any questions, comments?
Well, just because it's my first committee meeting, is this just more of an informational where they're at, what they're doing? Is there some sort of goal or objective that we're trying to achieve from this discussion? Just from a high level, or is it just kind of an update? Because as a comment I didn't notice any issues with my trash billing. I couldn't even tell you anything.
You have the
changed.
same drivers driving a different color truck.
Yeah, and billing wise, I had no issues. My blue can's got some cracks in it, but besides that, that's something I can.
We can fix
you
that.
Guys, but besides that, I think they've done a wonderful job when you take over something like that. It's quite the undertaking, and for you guys to do it as effectively as you have and the time you had, I think you've handled it very well, and it's been a good job. So from that standpoint, I don't really have much to touch base on, I guess, just from a standpoint of, is there anything objectives from this meeting we want to do besides just kind of a debrief?
I think it was more of a synopsis of what's been going on and getting up to date on. I would agree with you. I thought that the trash pickup was seamless. I was one that was an automatic pay. And so, there were some problems there. So I haven't corrected it yet because I figured you were swamped and I would just pay by check until things calmed down and then switch it back over. That was basically the biggest comment I heard from the community. I would have to say, if there were any questions, if somebody was on automatic pay and then got a paper bill, I'm assuming that late charges weren't charged just because it really wasn't their fault, that there were wrong phone numbers that were given and that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming that you took care of that appropriately. I am very glad to hear that you're contributing to events such as Concert in the Parks, because Midstate was really very profitable in this community, very beloved because of a business that gave back to the community. So I'm worried about when a larger corporation came in that, they don't tend to remember to be nice to the community. So that's really encouraging to hear, and I hope you continue to do that. And I'm really amazed that our trash cans have to be fashionable these days with the color scheme. But, you know, as long as we don't go the Barbie trend, I'm okay with it. So other than that, I don't have anything else to say.
Just a couple, so primarily the goal was just to get information to the committee and really provide an opportunity for the public to participate. From our staff's point of view, you know, when the transition first, you know, in that first few weeks in November, there were questions and I think I dealt with a few customers who had sort of unique needs or you know, something that was a little bit off the norm. And we worked through those issues and I really haven't heard from anybody directly in a couple of, at least a month or more about it, about an issue. So that's, but we did wanna, since this is your first committee meeting since the transition, did ask Waste Management just to kind of provide an update. And again, just to keep information flowing and for transparency purposes, the public, and all this information that you received is all public now. I believe that at least in Creston, you guys are doing a similar kind of report, or maybe you did.
Coming up, yeah, really what it comes down to is that it's a partnership. And that we want to make sure that we're being an upstanding partner, that it's an open line of communication. I can tell you that for as good as our systems are, that we're all still human beings that are actually doing the job. And so, you know, to that extent that I can't promise perfection, but what I can promise you is a quick and fair resolution as things come up. Ultimately, there's unique needs that customers may have, and we want to be responsive to that. And so, again, we just appreciate the patience and understanding, and certainly apologize because there were some things that we were disappointed in, specifically on the billing side, that I think drove some customer service challenges for us, and thankfully we were able to get that all handled. But really just wanted to reiterate that we want to be the district's partner, and that for those areas that the district feels that it's important for WM to be a part of, we want to know about it, we want to be there, and we want to get things taken care of.
Great.
I do just have a couple more items that are pretty related. One, and I sent this information to the board, but I neglected to send it to Eric. On May 9th, IWMA is hosting, I think, something called Solid Waste Day. They did this last year as well. It's a informational presentation on sort of the status of the industry in this county and some challenges and how other agencies are going about it, and all the IWMA participants. So that's the county now, again, all the cities and all of the special districts that have franchise agreements are all part of IWMA and are invited to this event. So that's on May 9th. I don't have a lot of details about the specific times, but I would, if the committee members are interested, that's a good opportunity. It's you know, several hours, but it's a good opportunity to kind of get a good handle on this in a sort of a bigger picture, broader way. What are other agencies doing, et cetera. And so, again, we just got to sort of save the date so far. So if that's something you're interested in, Eric, let me know and I'll make sure that you get all the stuff. But it is going to be a kind of a full day or most of a day commitment. And then I'm glad you brought up the tour thing. This committee has gone in the past. Actually, we've visited this sites. To my knowledge, or in my nearly 11 years here, we've had a couple of committee meetings that involve tours at the facility on La Cruz, and then also a tour actually at one point in time out at the facility where the compost is made, which is now not part of Waste Management's operation, but that Brad Goodrow retained that component. If the committee's interested, we can coordinate with Waste Management to host one. I just would, knowing this, it's a morning and early afternoon. That's what it's not that interesting. It's much more interesting when things are happening, and that's mornings and early afternoons. It's not evenings. Still the case.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, we're not a 24/7 operation, which I think is a good thing for our team to get a little bit of rest. But yeah, if it's an ability to work something out during working hours, we would love to host.
So if the committee's interested, we can coordinate that and make that part of your next committee meeting and coordinate that if we can make it work out with Waste Management. So just I mean, let me know if that's something you'd like to see. I think it's interesting.
Okay, and I think we need to discuss with Colleen too when she gets here.
Yep.
More information we have, more knowledge we understand of the operation. At least I'm a visual person, you see it firsthand, it kind of sinks in a lot better. So would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. And I hate to say this, I would be glad to see you be replaced by a local person, because it's nice to have a local contact. Yes. Nice that you're stepped in meanwhile.
Where's that position listed for, on your website?
Yes, yes.
Careers
So
or something?
careers.wm.com.
Thanks.
Okay, on to the next agenda, community center range.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring this item forward to you. This commercial range, this oven and stovetop is, to my knowledge, original to the building, so mid-90s. And we've had a little trouble with it over the past 5-6 years. Originally, the trouble was limited to maybe just one burner, like we had, I think some parts failed. We had to disable a burner on the stovetop. So it limited impacts. So we didn't, it was repairable, just took that burner out of service and everything else was working. And then, and I should have refreshed about 2 years ago, we had more trouble. We discovered a gas leak in the range. And so we turned it off. We had contacted multiple repair companies, and most of them said, we won't service this anymore. Parts are no longer available. But we did find one who said, no, we think we can find this part. And so we said, okay, great, let's get it fixed, because it's a pretty expensive appliance. And of course, this initial inquiry occurred during sort of the height of the supply chain shortage, and they use that as a reason, hey, this part's back ordered, and you just be patient, we'll be able to get a hold of it. Well, it's now been a long time, nearly a couple of years. The company no longer calls us back. We can't source the part in another way. It's a gas manifold that feeds all the gas features in the system. So the range has been out of service for some time. We did put together kind of a little list of who uses it, and originally everyone was real patient. Okay, gonna get it fixed, no problem. And then as time went by, some of the more regular groups who use the facility complained, when is this gonna get fixed or replaced? We need to use this range, and those two groups are the Women's Club and the North County Women's Connection. Women's Club, of course, has a special arrangement on the building. They built the building and then we accepted it, and we were providing them access forever for no cost and doing the setup for them. North County Women's Connection is another group that periodically rents. I think they were a monthly renter. They actually approached us, one of the members approached us with an offer to donate a replacement range, but it was like a 50s. It was from the 1950s, kind of an antique thing, and it didn't fit. It wasn't the same size of range, and so we turned that down. And then that group has subsequently said, we're no longer gonna rent until this gets fixed. We're not gonna use the facility. So we're at this point losing a little bit of business at the community center due to the fact that the range isn't operational. And I've kind of just given up on, this company's not gonna be able to fix it. And we've independently tried to source the part, cannot. Unfortunately, this isn't like a home unit, right? It's a 48-inch range. At Idlers, this is just a snapshot off their internet page. You can see this is a $10,000 type of appliance plus. We did find a lower cost unit on sale at Home Depot that's the same size. What I don't know right now is that this range has this stainless steel backing, and I believe it's independent. I went and looked at it here not too long ago. But we didn't actually pull the range out. We need to ensure compatibility with a potential replacement. So because to find something that's really comparable is gonna be 10 grand more, that's why we were being really patient on trying to get it fixed. So we're really here to talk to the committee about, what are the options for, repair has kind of been ruled out at this point. The suggestions of replacement are replace it with something that's that's the right size that fits in there. Or potentially a lower cost unit and then modify the cabinet somehow to accommodate that. Again, this is, this is much larger than a home, standard kind of home unit. So we'd like to get, kind of get your thoughts on where we should go. Really, if this does work, if we can find this is a 48-inch range. If we can find something in this sort of $3,000 or $4,000 range, cost area that is compatible with all the hookups in the way it's installed, that actually seems to me like that's a lower cost than I would have anticipated, given where we started.
Yeah, well, did you guys have a budget in mind for this? And another thing is when these organizations or these groups are using it, what are they doing with it, right? So if they're heating up massive amounts of food, maybe they need something more industrial, commercial. They're just throwing a couple pizzas in the oven to heat them up. I don't think it would be a huge expenditure to put something a little bit more residential in style in there and do some modifications to the existing casework. As far as the stainless steel backing goes, I wouldn't really worry about that if it's integral or not. I think you can do some sort of backsplash or type. I mean, I got sheet metal companies that'll come in and build one of those pretty effectively. So from a standpoint of what are they using it for, right? What are they putting in it? Is it a small amount of stuff? Is it a big amount of stuff? What's the return on investment to get the NC Women's Connection back? What are they paying?
Yeah, well, there probably isn't a real good return, just because very few people are paying to rent it. And that we've lost due to the kitchen, we just updated those fees and I should have been prepared, but it's $100 a month kind of a thing.
Yeah, but $100 a month, 3 years, that's $3,600 that you're not getting. That covers the nut on the $3,000 unit, right? So I guess the question is, what kind of unit do they do? I think your community center would be good to have something in there that works, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's, if the community center was being built today, I'm not sure it would have been furnished the way or outfitted the way it was. Cause I think at the time, the thought was all these community groups would come and host, fundraising dinners and these kinds of things and cooking. And so we have this large refrigerator in there, this, commercial oven. Most groups don't use it that way. We have caterers and all the food kind of comes ready to go. But these two groups, the women's club, do some cooking. To what extent, I couldn't say whether they're cooking for 12 hours or, the room only accommodates so many people, so it's not like they're cooking for hundreds and hundreds. Do you recall that the North County Women, maybe there's 20 people or 30
About
people?
25 on a good night or good afternoon.
Are they just heating up food or are they actually cooking the food there?
They'll do some cooking there, but also some heating and warming. It's a little bit of both. But most of what they bring, I feel like is probably like frozen that they need to heat up in the oven and fully cook through, right? And then, the things that they bring, like already cooked will just need to be reheated kind of idea. So it's a little bit of both, frankly.
I mean, to be frank, I don't know that it makes sense if only two groups are really using the thing and they're not doing anything kind of large scale. I would say replacing it in kind doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. Because it's like you said, you guys are planning on doing some sort of large scale events. Most people go to catering now from commercial kitchens. I think, from a cost standpoint, to be mindful of the county or the district's budget, you could throw in more of a residential style and just have a casework guy come in and put some shims in there or whatever it is to fill it out, or if it's just two groups and they're not really using it, maybe you just do away with it, put some cabinets in there and you don't offer that service anymore. So it really, I mean, I don't know the people, you have more of a relationship with them, but if there's one group that's heating stuff up.
Yeah, those are the two groups that have inquired, the women's club. I mean, I think the women's club would be, that's a group that has a, 30, 40-year history with the district and a lot longer in the community. Would be disappointed if the oven was not gonna be replaced at all, and
Okay.
probably hear about it. And I actually probably would wanna review our agreement to ensure that was just abandoning it altogether was even an option under the agreement. This other group is the one that's been more vocal recently because they're paying to rent it and they've kind of just a few weeks kind of said, hey, we're letting you know we're moving our meeting somewhere else until you fix this. So I think they plan on returning. If it was gonna cost 10 or 12,000 bucks to replace it, then my thinking was, okay, well, then you could buy a residential unit, modify the cabinets and save a little bit of money. If this other unit at $3,000 fits and you don't have to modify any cabinets, or get more people involved into making that work, that might be less, that might not be much more or any more than buying a residential range at 1,500 or 2,000 and then spending money modifying a cabinet and then still kind of look kind of funky. So getting an appliance that fits in here, even if it's not to the same, that's a Viking range. It's a very nice unit where it was originally. Getting something of similar to this sort of more Home Depot style would fit, would look okay. I don't know if it'd have all the same features as these fancier ovens, but that'd probably be the easiest solution. But you're looking at 3,500 bucks or something.
And then you would have Templeton employees install it, or you're gonna go contract out for the installation, or Home Depot installs it. So I mean, if you guys got the money for it and you think it's a benefit to the community and you can find a $3,000 option, I think, obviously there's a lot of things I have to learn about the committee and the relationships you have and who are using what. But I think that is a viable option. You're right. If you go and get a residential unit, then you're spending money on replacing the casework, you're doing things of that nature. So yeah, I mean, I see your point to that, and it's really just like the benefits and who's using it and how important is it to the community, and if it's important enough and you guys got the funds for it, and you can find a 3,000, I mean, that's a 48-inch unit, might not fit perfectly in there, but you got a hood in there already. I think that's also a viable alternative. It just, I need a little more data to give you a little bit better understanding of the relationships, but you got 3,000 bucks and you wanna go swap it out and that's a viable option. I don't think that's a bad idea either, right?
So so I think you kind of answered one question. So the existing hood would remain because it would be, it's in okay shape. So
Yes,
okay.
this unit up here is independent. It looks like it's all one unit, but it's,
It's independent.
It's
of
independent.
it.
And it,
So, just from personal experience, when you buy a range, and you might have more information on this than me. We buy an upper end and it's hard to get somebody to service that upper end here. So making sure there's somebody in the area that can service the brand that you bought is kind of a good thing to know beforehand. This is $3,000. It's got 4 out of 5 stars. The $4,000 one has almost 5 stars out of 5 stars. I rely a whole lot on reviews because, and so I would suggest doing your due diligence and making sure, one, that there's a, repairman in the area that can repair these. I don't know if Home Depot supplies that type of information for installation and who can take care of it. And then I would read the reviews because I know sometimes we're all tempted to buy the one on sale that's cheaper, but it may not be the best buy in the long term, you know, although this doesn't appear to get a whole lot of use either, you know, is the other thing. It's sounds like it's, but, you know, is there a potential in the future of if we replace it, of advertising that space so that more people use it and we get more, you know, people in there. So, I mean, the problem is we're usually competing with the hotels in the area that
Yeah,
have
I think
more,
the,
upscale bars and stuff associated with them.
I don't, you know, the sort of return on investment concept, I'm not, I mean, that was a driving factor in my mind too, say, hey, if I can get the, you know, money out of it. The reality is, I think the uses have changed, and then when we hit COVID, they changed pretty dramatically.
Right.
In our community, most events are, you know, many events are outdoor events. We have lots of locations around here that are scenic and nice, that can accommodate 50 and 100 people, wineries and those kind of things. And so I think most of the events that were originally envisioned in the community center, I'm talking about, you know, birthday parties and baby showers, and those aren't really taking place there. The uses, pre-COVID, we had business meetings and things of that nature, that took place there. But most of those haven't come back. We have a few regular users, a limited number, and I just think that the society has sort of changed in terms of this concept of community meals or community cooking, and the service clubs aren't necessarily hosting, you know, fundraising dinners and things like that at the community center. And it's because of it's got some capacity limitations. The room is, you know, maybe 50% bigger than this one. But you can't fit 200 people to have dinner in there. So those things don't really take place. So from my point of view, the place has a kitchen. Unless we make it a real definitive decision to abandon the kitchen, we've got to keep the kitchen components at least working in order to, you know, otherwise the kitchen just doesn't be there. So, and originally I thought this was gonna be like there was a minimum $10,000-$12,000 kind of thing, but again, we found some other options that are, I don't know how current, actually Carrie, I don't know if this was current, this photograph. I mean, I don't know if this is still on sale. It was just the concept is, we don't have a budget for this, so it would either have to come back as a budget amendment. I was waiting for the repair, but that I'm convinced it's just not gonna happen. You know, I was willing to wait a long time because of this, you know, return. We're not gonna get a return. We weren't gonna get a return, but it's, I don't think it's repairable. No one that we've had out there at this point is gonna repair it. So do we do a budget amendment now, or would the committee recommend a budget amendment come forward now so we can get something ordered or plan for it for next fiscal year? In which case the oven would stay non-functional for 4 or 5 more months.
I don't think if it needs to be replaced, the sooner we replace it, the better, because then we get the North County Women's Group back. And my caution is to look at the reviews, because I know $1,000 is $1,000, but you know.
Yeah, it needs to be able to serve its purpose and
Yeah.
hopefully be a quality that's gonna last another 20 or 30 years. So,
Have somebody go down and compare the two, or look at the two if they have.
yeah, I don't think these are not things that
In
are
stock.
available, that are in the store
No, that's the
in
problem.
general.
I
Still
think-
on sale, it's actually a little less right now.
I think there's a fact-finding mission that you guys have to go through and an exercise you need to go through to make the decision on what the appropriate one is before you go into talking about the money, right? So going to Home Depot and you might even be able to talk to the Home Depot manager, hey, we're part of the Templeton Community Service District. We got to replace this thing. This is our situation. Do you have any recommendations? Maybe they give you a little donation because they want to be, they're right down the road. They want to be part of it. I know the Idlers, they're part of Paso Rotary. Maybe that seems like an expensive alternative, but having them come over, they're part of the community, having a conversation. I think if you're going to use it, advertise it and want these people to be in, because that's the commitment you made to them to keep a kitchen. I agree, doing it sooner, but I think there's a little bit of an exercise you need to go through to make sure that you guys are buying you know, the right piece of equipment, the warranties is also, that could be a big one. The $3,000 one could have a 1-year warranty, the $4,000 one could have a 5-year warranty. So a little bit of fact finding, and then based on that fact finding, then you can come to the board and say, hey, here's the information, here's what Home Depot says, here's what Idler said, here's some more things. And we think this is the best unit, here's option A, here's option B, and these are what they're gonna cost, and the timeline on that would be X. But I think that overall, yeah, if you wanna maintain the kitchen, you guys made that commitment, it's part of the district, it's part of the community. I think that you guys figure out the information and pull the trigger on how to execute that.
I think that's very good direction to staff, and then once that's all figured out, bring it to the board.
Okay, so there is I guess I can say that there's a recommendation to come back to the board with a budget amendment to fund the replacement of the oven.
Right.
Just the specifics need to be worked out.
Right, and I do like the idea of offering to the board two options, looking at warranties and stuff and availability to get repairs done on them.
Yeah, I mean, you got 3,000, 2,000, there's all these different options, and the thing is, things are built pretty well nowadays. At that industrial level, that's a 10 to 15 to 20-year item, my guess is, on a lot of them. The reviews, you know, anything you buy, 4-star reviews, there's gonna be a 1-star review because someone got a lemon, that happens, right? You know, but I think getting the people who are the experts to come out, take a look at what you got, one from Home Depot, one from Idlers, or whoever you wanna reach out to, and put together the package and figure out what the business case, what's the most sense, economy of scale, and what you're trying to do, and what's gonna be the balance of all the different factors, right? But I would recommend that you guys replace it in kind of some sort.
Yeah, I think, I mean, these are brands I haven't necessarily, and I'm not an appliance expert. The Idlers, Idlers carries brands you've heard of.
High-end.
High-end, yeah.
I think the Home Depot one's gonna do fine. It's not like you're
It's not gonna be-
$12,000 one if you were in there every day
Right,
cooking in the
right,
kitchen. The
right.
$3,000 one, you're gonna cook in it twice a month.
Yeah, it's not like it needs a lot of fancy features, programmable start times and all this stuff, cause
Right.
that's not how the place gets used.
I would also, I don't know how much energy you spent on the repair part of it, but there's probably one guy who does appliance repairs out of Southern California that you just haven't found yet. My guess is there's one person in the state that could figure out how to fix the thing, but it's about how much time and energy you wanna go to find that guy, right? You know, there's probably a junkyard full of them, there's one manifold, you can go figure it out. That's what I do for a living, is figure those things out. I'm pretty sure you could do it, but it might take you 2 weeks, 40 hours a week to figure out who that guy is, right? It's a pretty adventurous thing to do. I'm not saying you wanna do that, but just in the back of your mind that there are possibilities to do that.
Yeah, I just mentioned that we've already had other failures with the.
Yeah,
So I, you know, fixing the thing that's wrong with it won't necessarily ensure we get 5 or 10 or 15
Yeah.
more years of service, cause we've had other failures on the appliance
Sure.
before this sort of more catastrophic
Sure.
one.
Well, go through the exercise and find the right unit, and make the amendment. Or the-
So we'll plan on coming back, we'll plan on getting some doing some research, coming back with a budget amendment with some specifics.
Sure.
To the board.
Jeff, remind me, the asset replacement funds kick in at 5,000?
Yes,
right?
right, yeah.
And even though it's on the asset replacement list for Viking, we wouldn't be able to use funds until we spent 5?
Correct. Yeah, it's not eligible for asset replacement access, and can't access those funds unless it's gonna be $5,000 or more.
Thank you.
It would come out of the
Operating.
operating fund.
Well, does that make sense? Does it make sense if you're gonna get a $4,000 unit? Does it make sense after installation, it's
That'll be it.
4,993?
Right.
That will inform our decision for sure.
Okay, yeah, bring that to the board.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Lisa, thank you. Okay, community garden concerns. That was an entertaining report for you.
Yeah, so I got this, just by way of background, I got this email, a month ago in January, from, Emily.
Concerned
Yeah, concerned citizen, just very short. I recently became aware of the garden behind the Templeton Skate Park. Locations known for drugs, to get drugs, find drugs and try them. Children are familiar with this location. It makes me worried that it's in our community. I responded to the person trying to get more information because I didn't know if the complaint was about the activity at the skate park, or was there some specific activity at the garden that was occurring? But she did not reply or in what she was, you know, wanting to kind of get out of it. Just so you're aware, these are some photos from a couple weeks ago. The garden is, oh, this is a close-up, so probably not gonna help you orient yourself, but this is the garden is this pretty unimproved piece of property that has these raised garden beds that groups or individuals can, for a very nominal cost, kind of rent for the year and then grow what they want. It's, you know, intended to be an opportunity for people who to socialize and garden if they live in a place that can't accommodate that. And just some other photographs. This kind of helps you orient. Here's the skate park, so they abut each other. You know, the complaints about the skate park users are not new, and they shouldn't come to you as a surprise. The skate park is a challenging, poses some challenges everywhere. It's not unique to Templeton, although the fact that our skate park sits behind the building, well off the street, makes these problems, well, one, it's just sort of, it's somewhat hidden from public view, and so persons feel a little more protected, you know, underage drinking, and we have had complaints of drug activity and drug sales. Not a ton of complaints, but those complaints have been realized before or received before. So just some photographs of what this is. So this is just for information to let you know that we got this complaint. I don't know anything more about it. The person who levied it didn't respond to my reply. But I was trying to get some more information. I did ask Mel, what, you know, have we had? Is she aware of specific activities at the garden that we need to know about?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's got quite a lot of activity in there, a lot of, you know, presence. There's a lot of folks who are there frequently, but I've not seen or heard of any concerns out there.
It's typical problem of places are behind buildings and
I mean, anywhere you can hide in a small town, right? Kids are gonna do what kids do everywhere, right? Not to, you know, condone any of it, but,
no,
you know,
no.
if you can,
I mean, the only thing is if they're there more in the evening, are the lights on in the evening?
Nope.
No,
I mean, the parking lot lights stay on, but not the, there's really only lights in the backyard of the rec center, for like basketball practices. When we now basketball season just ended, so those are off as well, which kind of, in the hopes honestly of discouraging them from being there, because it's too dark to see. Time changes
Yeah.
next week, so, and spring is in the air, you know, we'll have a little boom of fun, I'm sure. And, see what
well,
happens.
and I think the only thing, and I think we have asked the sheriff to go by there.
Yeah, we have, I'm not, you know, I think that happens when after we have an incident or a problem, we get some more attention, and then it quickly subsides to, you know, really only if we call. I don't know. I mean, Melissa's there a lot more than I certainly, but do you see a sheriff's patrol car come through the parking lot?
I wouldn't say they have a high presence, no, not at all.
I think drugs is a pretty broad term. Is it a couple teenagers smoking pot behind there, or is it,
I don't
you know,
know.
some homeless people doing fentanyl or whatever?
Nah,
So
typically what I have seen or smelled, alright, it's, yeah,
I don't know that there's much you can do to stop that, besides having some cops go by, but besides that, kids are gonna do what kids are gonna do. I grew up
Alcohol,
in
too.
a small town with Grass Valley with a skate park, and it's just kind of part of the game, but as long as I think that, you know, people are being respectful of other people and it's not a big, giant issue, I don't know that you're gonna make a huge change by doing anything physical, right? People are gonna kind of do what they're gonna do as long as they're being somewhat safe and not, I don't know how you stop
I
it.
we don't have a specific I just wanted to bring it to your attention. We haven't received this kind of complaint about the garden in the past, and so I just wanted to share it. Although again, when you read it, it's kind of hard to tell if the person just doesn't like the location of the community garden next to the skate park, saying it's more of like an incompatibility, or does, you know, I don't know. Just speculation at this point.
Sure.
Maybe to put minds at ease, just put a no loitering sign or something on there, or that way. Since it's been brought to our attention, we're making an effort to address the concerns of some community members. in the best manner that we can.
I think there's some, but I'll have a look at, specific, that might be. Yeah. I'll have a look at what we've got.
And then do we need the minutes to reflect that Director Pearson's here now?
Yes, okay.
Oh, okay. Of course, she's on it. Okay, next item, maintenance concerns update. These are gophers.
Well, actually, I think there's a number of things that, is it
No, it's the,
sorry.
the red one,
right here?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, this one. Oh, gophers are next, okay.
So, yeah, Justin, maybe you can just kind of talk about some recent maintenance efforts, and then, when Mel gets back, she can address anything further.
Yeah, is there the photos of the eucalyptus windbreak? By any chance?
It's the third one over. Not that, the next one.
In our last meeting, we were able to get support, direction in removing this large eucalyptus windbreak. We went to the board looking for budget approval, and we received that, and we ended up hiring a contractor and removed, I think in the next photo, this is the windbreak. It was cut. There was some complaints neighboring, some of the neighbors there to the Evers Park were, inundated with leaf debris, limbs shedding off, eucalyptus incredibly, and famous for kind of self pruning and all of those sorts of things. So just wanted to take the opportunity to update you with it. We went out there, we hired a local contractor, removed all of those eucalyptus trees. All of that wood was taken off site. The stumps were treated, and we do have some chips still, but we may not be using those for a whole lot of anything that eucalyptus, it seems it's kind of good for nothing kind of a thing. So, but just wanted to update you all with the fact that we did remove that windbreak.
Just a question
Yeah.
on the stumps were treated. We've had a eucalyptus or two taken down in our yard, and we treated the stumps, and they said just keep an eye on them because it seemed they just keep coming back.
We will, looking into this project from a higher elevation, we saw that there's plans as well for the few remaining eucalyptus trees to be removed as a part of the Evers Park improvement plan. And we haven't, I know that's later in the agenda,
Okay.
but then there's a replanting scheme. And so we wanted to keep consistent where we took down those ukes, keep consistent with that planting scheme. And so that everything will be, aesthetically pleasing and consistent and all of those sorts of things.
But the stumps didn't get pulled out, they just got ground down, was that what happened?
So they were cut at ground level
Level?
and then treated, and we are keeping an eye and monitoring them for future needs, maintenance, treatment.
Yeah, and hopefully if there is any regrowth, we'll be able to get on this, it won't require a major effort like we had, right? We can cut it off again with our own crews. But it is a concern, I think these are,
We treated. our-
very viable.
Yes. What we found out is when we took a kiddie pool that we had left over, put it on top of the stump because no sunlight got through it, that eventually killed it. Over all the chemical treatments. It worked.
Nature.
Anyway, okay.
And then this,
Yeah, something else that we've been busy, we pull a number of our staff together anytime we're doing a larger project. So we have all utility folks joining our crews in the parks. We have one full-time park staff, and we get the help of another part-time staff. So we bring in other utility workers, operators to help in times that we have a larger project going on. This is something that was brought to our attention last year, is that there's this large mounding sort of developing in the back of field number 2, the back softball field. And, just wanted to update, the committee with, we removed 8-10 feet in the back part of that field too, that large mound. And have been coming back in and filling that back in with base. There's plans to do much more. And unfortunately, we received rain this year. It's a blessing, but also it's been very tough to be able to get in and make improvements in those fields because of the weather. I did also just want to point out that in the photo, there's a tractor in the photo. And we recently received our parks tractor. There's still a couple things coming.
Was that the tractor, the orange one?
Yeah, the orange one is our new, we were also appropriated funding to purchase a tractor this fiscal year. And so we're very happy about, immediately we put it to use. We got it from CNN tractor and immediately put it out there in the field. They dropped it off actually at the park. And so at the end of this week, we'll be receiving a mower attachment that goes along with that tractor and an aerator. We're gonna have an aerator, and so we have, we'll be moving forward with our aeration and seeding program in those fields as well. So I just updating you, the fields and the preparation of the fields, and then receiving that tractor as well.
How much time has that cut down with the new tractor?
Yeah, it's they didn't have really the means to be able to do it in the past. Our tractor that we were using had so many mechanical issues. It had lost 4-wheel drive, for instance. And so being able to use it, to get the job done, it just wasn't.
Really dangerous.
Maybe the fact that it's actually getting done as opposed to how much man hours it's right? Yeah. I mean, I don't think we've aerated in 5-6 years, right? So I think that's gonna be a huge,
And then you'll be able to use it over at Bethel Park.
yeah, of course, absolutely.
It's an incredibly useful tool. My family owns one a little larger than that, and we grew up in the woods, and we got 1,000 hours on a personal tractor. Recommendation is have a really solid maintenance program, preventative and just the standard maintenance program. Just really, it's gonna do, like, even just having a grease gun and greasing all the Zerk fittings before use once a week or whatever it is. It's gonna be really important. So,
Congrats on your new purchase.
oh yeah, it's a fun toy. A tool.
Difference.
And then, I guess is that, that kind of leads me into the next.
Anything else on the maintenance
Yeah, is there any-
update?
Not from my point of view.
I'd ask about Gophers, but it's on the thing.
It's on the
Oh,
next, yeah.
Next.
Right there? But maybe you could, before we play the video, let's go through like, about just I don't know, there was shows and like this, and like Caddyshack.
Kind of videos down south, but welcome to Templeton, okay? I'm glad you stayed so you could see our community.
Tractors and critters.
So
another
Justin,
concern.
now you guys can just sort of address what we've been doing historically with the Gophers and how successful we think that's been and why we're still looking at other options.
So another concern was injuries to our young folks, kids playing in organized sports or just recreating out in our parks facilities. And it was considerable. I mean, it's some real damage, some sinkholes kind of developing uneven at the very least, just very uneven and sinkhole kind of situations happening out in our fields. Twisted ankles, I'm not sure of all of the different injuries, but we wanted to try and minimize that to the best of our ability. And so we had been hiring, we hired a contracted service on a monthly basis, weekly. They were out there in the field working, trying to curb, kind of minimize some of this damage areas into our fields from
How are they trying
rodents.
to curb it?
They were trying to with traps and with bait.
Okay,
That's what's the means that they were
so
trying to,
like go for hawks, plus
Yes.
putting baits down the hole.
yes.
I mean, at the height, he's collecting a week, maybe 60 to 80 gophers.
Oh, yeah.
He's definitely putting the work in. It's just they're relentless, so.
And the damage continued. Even with that high volume, we still saw damage, through the summer. We did take, spread out, again, kind of pulled our crews together and we spread out 80 cubic yards of, material on the fields, trying to level out some of those, areas that were the worse off, those sinkholes, uneven ground in the fields. And so that was to try and deal with it in the near term and right before flag football. And I believe again, we went back at it right before soccer season. And so more recently, we found a product, the Critter Max product that local agencies are public agencies, school districts, municipalities, all around the Central Coast who are using this product
Oops.
You skipped over a video.
to minimize to curb the rodents from coming into these areas altogether. And so this is just to kind of preface the video, this is a food grade, non-toxic, all natural product material. It adheres to standards set by the California Healthy Schools Act. It's pet friendly, it's kid safe. Again, it's being used in local schools presently, successfully.
Successfully, because
Successful.
like, when I read all this stuff, because we live on 2 acres, we have, gopher galore. We feed them to the owls that live in our backyard. All the natural, I mean, we use gopher hawks, but all the natural stuff hasn't worked in the past. We've got like substantial testimonials from local people that this works.
Yeah, and it's the active ingredient in it is castor oil. And it seems like, I can't believe that we're just talking about castor oil. But, just to name a few, Cal Poly
Uh-huh.
is using it. City of San Luis Obispo, Paso Robles, City of Santa Maria. A lot of these public agencies I'm mentioning too, it's not just the public, the parks, the municipality, but it's also the schools in the schools as well that are participating. They're trying to support with youth organized sports and those sorts of things. But it's a long list of agencies that are using this and finding success with it, that these rodents are completely staying out of the.
It's a really short video, like under 2 minutes, if you're willing to watch it. And hopefully we won't get to the next video, because I have no idea what that one is.
Does not harm these problematic pests. Instead, Critter Max simply repels them from your yard. All ingredients in our proprietary formula are listed by the EPA as noticing, confirming they will not pose harm to pets or children. See our product label and SDS sheets on our website for further information. Critter Max comes in quantities of either a 55-gallon drum, a 2.5-gallon jug, or a 1-gallon jug. It can be used in a backpack sprayer, a hose bit sprayer, or an injection system. You can mix Critter Max with other chemicals such as our fertilizers or surfactants, but the scent of the 30 to 45-day residual effects you typically need to apply at least once a month. The simplest and most efficient way to use Critter Max is in the injectors, because this adds product to your landscape every time you turn on your irrigation. The key is consistency, and the fertilizer injectors nail it by layering small doses of product into your soil to drive out your pests. The way this product works best is by applying a large dose of 1 gallon per 10,000 square feet for the first year. This will typically cause more activity. as a
Really on the soccer side.
Hit 'em with-
initial large dose.
5-year-olds don't like
Put the quantity back 8 times to a height per 10,000 square feet for maintenance, and watch the pets leave your yard for good. Keep in mind, if you discontinue using critter nets, pests are likely to return. If you have any questions or would like to hear testimonials of advocacy, please visit our website or contact us at 866-393-5601.
So it'll repel critters and deer, but not dogs.
So it doesn't, in my, reading the material and talking to the representatives, it doesn't deter, dogs. It doesn't, cause there are a number of folks that walk their dogs into our parks. It is specific to these, rodents and to the deer, that the wildlife just don't want to get near this castor oil.
I think it's because they won't, the dogs, excuse me, the deer and the gopher, they
Or
eat,
feeding it.
right? And the dogs aren't eating the
Yeah.
grass, I mean, typically, right?
Right.
So, I mean.
So I got, yep, a couple questions about it. I saw some quotes in there. What's your application method? How do you guys plan on applying it?
Yeah.
I would recommend, if you're gonna execute, doing a trial run, maybe a 2-month run to see how you like it, cause you know, it's once a month you have to do it, right? So if you do it for 2 months and you still have the same issue, maybe it's not worth the long term. You're gonna do it once a month for the next 20 years, like what's that look like, right? Like, is that a long-term solution? Cause if you're gonna spend $50,000 on this stuff over the next 5 years, might make sense just to dig out the field and put gopher wire underneath it all at 2-3 feet below. That's a big undertaking, I understand, but just some brain exercises for your ROI. It might be a good short-term solution, but from a long term, I did just reach out to, I know the project managers that manage all of Lucy Mar schools. I do a lot of work for schools, and I said, what do you guys use in your field? So if I get some more information, maybe I can email you guys. So just, how are you gonna apply it? Are you gonna do it in the drip? I don't know if those fields are irrigated anyway. I'm assuming they are. And then, what's your plan? Are you just gonna buy a year's worth of it? You're gonna buy 3 months worth of it? What's kind of the thought behind that?
Yeah, very good. So we have started to use it in the parks, but it's a very manual backpack sprayer. Also, there was an applicator that we use at the end of a hose. You
Yep.
put a certain amount and then so I didn't refill as needed depending on the square footage, just to see if we had the effect, if it had the effect that we were looking for. So we've been using it primarily along the third baseline of field 1 softball. And there was damage. It was, when I met with Site One recently, as their local vendor.
Yeah, I know Site One.
Okay, so we were out there and it was like the game, it was the, whack-a-mole. They were just coming up. It was incredible how many, while we're there at the meeting, our park staff, we got the 2.5 gallon and started to use it, and they've already seen them moving up. Our intention was to try and drive them up and get them out of the field along the westerly side, I guess, of the park. And so then we've already noticed them moving out of the
Sure.
grounds. Staff have been reporting that they were already starting to move. It would be, there was a moment that there was an irrigation box and you saw kind of like, looked like almost like a reverse osmosis kind of.
Injection system.
Yeah, that's the system that we were looking at getting. The quotes, couple things about those costs. One is that that was directly from the manufacturer, and we have to go through a vendor, so like Site
Site
One.
One, yeah.
So they're preparing, by the end of this week, we were supposed to have their pricing, they said will be lower. Also that those costs involve a year's worth of product as well. Also, this is not just to repel rodents. There's a few byproducts like the injection of insecticides. If you were, Critter Max makes a multiple different other
Sure.
products.
Like a neem oil extract or something like that.
Oh,
Sure.
They also have products for fertilization and for, if you didn't have the means or didn't want to mechanically aerate, but you wanted to apply this liquid aqueous solution injected in, it would open up the grounds. A lot of those are parks, our two, German Park and Evers, they're detention basins for stormwater
Okay.
runoff. And the soils are poor,
Yeah.
a lot of clay. And so this particular one, would open up those, soils. They also have a particular, one that you can use that helps reduce the amount of water that you use through the, you know, especially the warmer months. We use quite a bit of water on those fields. And so then that there's several different, kind of byproducts, other, things that we're looking at using this injection system.
So the item before you is, you know, we have the budget to buy chemicals and, you know, and whatnot. We're spending right now somewhere there about $7,000 at Evers Park on the gopher servicing, $7,000 a year, and it's not achieving the desired, it's working, but not well enough. It's not enough. And then at German Park, the soccer board was paying for this service, the same service, kind of just to ensure the fields are in as good a condition as possible, but they've notified us to stop paying for that, so that's gonna stop. So most of the costs that you see here are costs of installing the injection system to be able to rapidly deploy this or use it in the size of facilities that we have. It's not practical to manually apply this material every month. And there are these other benefits as well, but so the cost in general, I think what we're looking for is there a recommendation to incorporate this into either to bring it back as a budget amendment this year or incorporate it into next year's budget and install this system, if it could replace our current efforts, the payback is very rapid, you know.
Yeah,
We're already spending almost as much money at one park.
I think it's definitely worth the trial to do it for a year. At a minimum, you have the injection system which you can use for all sorts of stuff. Some thoughts to think about. I don't know how your sprayer or your watering system on the fields works, but if it's not covering where the mounds and the dirt part of the baseball diamond is, you would want to add that because you're going to want to get complete coverage throughout the entire field. Just something to think about. But I think that based on the other inputs and other advantages, and the fact that you're already basically $8,300 a year worth, you're paying $7,000, you get this injection system, it provides this, you know, and I think overall I would recommend it in a amendment to execute that work for sure.
So I do have one question. When we go to do the Evers Park upgrade and landscaping area, will the irrigation system or the spray system include not only the turf area, but the horticultural areas, you know, where the trees are going and that kind of stuff too, because otherwise you're just gonna chase your gophers right up into your landscaping there. And, you know, so will it be over completely everything?
So.
We're just gonna get complaints from neighbors that
Yeah,
we're chasing the
yeah,
gophers.
that probably could happen. The Ever Sports Park improvements don't include a major overhaul of the irrigation system. They really don't include any irrigation improvements for the sports fields and just some minor drip system work where new planting takes place.
So can you put this through a drip system?
You can.
You
Yeah, I'm not sure how effective it will be because we're not getting a broadcast of the material through the drip.
You probably need sprayers of some sort.
But we have the sprayer now, so it could be sprayed in specific areas.
Yeah, I think if we viewed it as problematic in specific non-turf areas, it could be sprayed with like how we're applying it today. But most of those areas are not, they're just sort of on the outskirts of the park, like, let me bring up the
Are you
one
getting,
video.
are you getting gopher holes in the
Have
diamonds?
to do.
Like in the diamonds themselves?
Not too much.
Not too much, okay, well, if
And
that's the case.
that irrigation system, it is, I
The
mean, it
entire
covers everything,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, this big area back here this is the area that all that drip line and stuff is. And we'll add more to when these trees go back in, the replacement trees go back in. But from a standpoint of concerns about our playability on the fields, it doesn't really have an impact, and it's a sloped area. I don't know, is that,
But if we're re-landscaping it, I mean, we put everything in gopher baskets, and I don't know what the landscape architect has called out for the planting plan to get it established, but you know, you don't want to put in trees and shrubberies and then chase the gophers out of the field right up into that sloped area, and they're gonna eat everything. As we all know, you can go over to a tree. You know, LA has this problem and just pull it out because the gophers have eaten all the roots off, and so, you know, just making sure that this is incorporated everywhere so that we don't chase them into our new landscaping that we're just buying.
Yeah, I think we'd have to go with the surface app, with the hand application.
Keep an eye on it. But other than that, I agree with Eric, and I know Kalut hasn't chimed in yet.
I'm waiting for you guys to.
Finish talking?
yeah. Trying not to interrupt. No, I mean, I like it. I like that it's a better alternative than the traps because I know during soccer season, some of those traps were left on the field and some of us parents had to panic and run and I had to call and say, please remove these traps because they're gonna chop off a kid's foot. So I like this as a better alternative. It's safe for animals, it's safe for the kids. It kind of solves the purpose that we're trying to. So I'm definitely on board. I'm getting it in sooner rather than later.
100%.
So we really view it as sort of a low risk effort.
Yeah.
And it would replace, the goal is to replace the current gopher baiting and catching with this,
Okay,
so.
so direction to staff. David, you wanna take them? I would just like to move on to Evers Park improvement plans because I know Eric has to leave at 30. And so.
I can be a couple minutes late, but yeah, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, we just, we wanted to just keep you posted on Evers Park. We did resubmit the revised plans to the county. It's just by way of background, we've got this, particularly for Eric, we've got this starting about 5 years ago, identified a number of improvements that we'd like to see at Evers Park. And coming out of that, the improvements were ranked and we hired a landscape architecture firm to design improvements, the top ranked improvements to Evers Park, which would bring about a playground along the western side of the park up against that hillside. ADA access from the street into the park, which doesn't presently exist. ADA improvements from the parking lot down to the park. And then a walking path around the park, and then some other improvements, but those are the main ones. And we submitted this project previously to the county, designed, and the county came back with 35 pages of comments or something along those lines, a lot of corrections to the plans, really extensive corrections to the plans. And so we spent time revising those plans, and in January resubmitted them. The only comment we've got back thus far was to submit evidence that Bell could sign as property owner. So our board approved a resolution on confirming that, and we've submitted that and have not received any comments back.
Oh, it'll be a couple months yet.
I'm sure. So that's the update. Everything's in there. I think everything was addressed with really kind of one exception, and that was the county's comments really concerning storm drain impacts. And we took it.
The storm drain area just.
We do, but the entire park, right? Every time we add paved area, we reduce the amount of.
Impervious.
Yeah.
So we've calculated just, this is really the whole scheme of things, the whole size of the park, our impervious surface just changing. It's just very small. Just really that walkway around the park is the only real added area. There's almost a de minimis impact on the overall acreage, and so we're hopeful they'll accept that argument. But that otherwise, to the best of our knowledge, all of those issues are addressed. We'll keep you posted on the county's comments. The goal, of course, is to get a permittable project, and then release
For public bid.
and then advertise for bids and come back and determine, the bid package will probably include some bid alternates.
Yeah.
Because we were already really budget constrained, and construction costs increased certainly from the time we started to the time we get to, certainly during the early years of COVID, construction costs really got escalated. And so there'll be some bid alternates. That's how we envision this, and then the board would make a decision about awarding the bid once that process has concluded. But again, the county took a long time to review the plans last time and provided these very extensive comments, and so we don't yet know. It could be several months before we get response.
Could I get a copy of the plans that you submitted, the second round of plans? Is it, I guess it's not, just.
I'll just,
Public information.
Yeah.
I'll just add it to, we'll, just so all of you have that, we'll add that on this agenda and send you a link.
Sure.
Is there a civil engineer associated with
Yes.
landscaping? Is it a local one?
Was BKS the civil?
BKN.
BKN, thank you.
They had a local rep, that was part of our hiccup,
That was, yeah.
is, they actually had a local person, from BKN who they assigned as the coordinator with the county. I didn't realize this, but the county's really restrictive about who they communicate with. And that person left BKN. And so we inherited we inherited that local person's objective, but the county had all these questions. Well, they were questions of the architect and the engineer, not questions that we could directly answer. And so when they got answered, the county says, we don't show you as a person, a point of contact. We don't know what you're
We
talking
will not
about.
listen to it.
Yeah,
So
you
we
need like
had to reassign somebody else with,
construction manager, basically,
with the project.
is my manager.
Because I know like you can build a certain size of building. The historic committee over on Main Street, they wanted to add a building behind their current building. And they're not required to retain their stormwater because it's under a certain size limit. And so I don't know how many square feet of sidewalk we're adding, but, and I don't know if a sidewalk is equivalent to a building, but it might pull you out of that stormwater drainage requirement, and your civil engineer should be able to answer that question for us.
It depends on if it's considered an ADU, like that building they added was an ADU,
Mhm.
it's not considered an ADU, because I know that California basically removed all the mitigation requirements for ADUs. So that, I don't know if that aligns with that, and I think it's 600 square feet for that purpose.
It might be 600 square feet, you might be putting.
I think that building's bigger than that.
Okay.
The museum building's 300.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right, which is a lot. So,
But the sidewalk is long, goes all the way to the parking, so even though it's not very big, it's like a third of a mile.
Right.
So it's a lot of square feet.
And I think because it's a specifically because I think it's a stormwater retention basin, right? Some of the
But then it's
requirements are
got-
gonna be a bit more.
it even goes further deeper, which way is it? When you go off the.
To the
playfield?
north.
Yeah, I just don't know the direction. Okay. Okay, have fun.
We'll get the plans posted online and to you as well.
Yeah, great.
Volleyball.
All right, I guess it's probably a good time for me to cut out here, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully I gave some good input here for you guys, to make some decisions, so look forward to the next one.
Thank you, Eric.
Awesome. So volleyball, the community has requested we start a volleyball program in our spare time at the gym that we operate. So I've been trying to figure out how, like if and how we can make this happen. I've spoken with the city of Tascadero Recreation Department. They run a spring volleyball program. It's not quite a league necessarily so much as sort of class offering some, games. But there's some interest in getting us involved. So maybe Templeton can look at basically taking our own registrations, using the Tascadero Colony Park Community Center gym when it's available, sort of incorporating our program into theirs. Doing some interleague games. This is similar to what we do for, every other sport that we interleague with other communities. The exception being the fact that it's indoors entirely, so like our practices would need to be over there and things like that. So there's a lot of, interest in this. There's a lot of support from Atascadero, frankly, I have keys to the community center, so it's not a far cry from things that happen, just, within the communities of recreation, that sort of beg, borrow, steal and play together industry, right? So it's something we're kind of looking into. It's obviously not happening this spring. We've already just getting softball off the ground this weekend. But a lot of folks are very interested. And as I look at it, softball the numbers are dwindling. They continue to dwindle. It's a nationwide trend. Fewer kids playing, softball. And volleyball numbers are on the rise. So starting to look at those trends and what we can do to, adjust to what the community's needs are. So.
Question, is it for only youth groups or is this for older folks?
This would be specific to youth. I know Paso Robles runs an adult volleyball program. Again, they have the facilities to do this with, right? We don't have the facilities. It's difficult for us to get into the facilities in the spring. Even basketball, we have to run outside other than Saturdays, right? So we could do that with volleyball, similar, but potentially using the indoor space at Atascadero for it. But yeah, this would be primarily youth program and likely 3rd through 7th or 8th grade, I think. So.
Their bandwidth to take on another
I
program.
know, next question.
I mean, softball's getting smaller, but somehow they take up just as much time as soccer. A program 7 times their size. I don't understand.
It's like if you have 2 people over for dinner or 20 people over for dinner, it still takes time. I mean,
Right.
it's-
Right, so I need to sit and really look at some numbers and what the staff can handle. Spring is big for, softball takes a lot of bandwidth for us. But we also have all these other little things happening that take up a lot of time, like planning concerts in the park, which is, a big job. That Clutter to Cash program we have coming up for the community yard sale, we have Monster, the 7-stop skate park, right? And then planning for flag and for soccer, right? So making sure that we can run a program that would look quality, right? That would look the way we would expect it to look. That's something that I really need to look at. I don't think it will be a significantly sized program. I do think with the help of Atascadero, right, sort of working together, I think that will help ease some of the growing pains that would be associated with it. But I think it's not out of the question. It's just a matter of how masochistic I feel on the day I say yes or no to it.
Well, now, can you address, if all the practices took place in Atascadero and all the games take place in Atascadero, what are we bringing to the table?
I think we would have games here on Saturdays.
Okay, you say we would have gym access
We
here?
would have gym access on Saturday, on the weekends.
Okay.
Yeah,
The practices would be Atascadero.
likely in Atascadero, yeah, exactly.
And is this?
And
gonna be
potentially
managed like
Atascadero
our
as well. It'd be
soccer?
a little-
Would this be managed like our soccer program where it's like a board of parents that are overseeing and?
I think I would keep a little more control over it at the start. I would probably bring in some key players who, know a gosh darn thing about volleyball, which I'm not well versed in. But Sarah Botts, the PE teacher at the elementary schools, is very well versed. And a couple of the parents in town who are asking for it have volunteered to help, so it would probably be kept a bit small as far as any kind of advisory goes, right, committee goes, especially to start. So after that, we'll see where we grow. So.
I leave it to you to show us that you have the bandwidth, the money, the staff to do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna make
When
money.
it's worthwhile, yeah.
Yeah, because your department does amazing things like all departments do with the limited staff we have. And so, and I think you always set a high goal for our programs, that they're not shitty.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
knowing Melissa, it's up to you, my dear.
Excellent. We'll see what we can pull off reasonably.
Yeah, just.
Recreation.
And I'll let you know so the girls can.
I wanna play.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
used to play.
I know they.
Oh, you're in. You're both on the committee. Let's go.
Coaching is playing.
That's true.
Only the trusted.
Okay, recreation building user program updates.
You wanna,
This was sort of just a general update on users. I did wanna just mention, the Lens Place, the rec center. That building has served a multitude of uses over the years. And right now, it's like, every single day, it's where our recreation offices are, where a lot of equipment storage is stored. And then during the school year, Tuesday through Thursday mornings, it's the home of our preschool. Up for about 6 or 7 years, it was the home of the Templeton Library Book Room in the afternoons. That has gone away. We've had a few, small number of new classes in there, but not largely the place is pretty quiet in the afternoons. Sports groups meet in there, advisory groups meet in there. We have a 4-H. Who else is
yeah,
meeting in there?
Heartland Charter Schools have started meeting in there once or twice a month for little craft projects or different PE things that they have requirements. It's a homeschool, so they don't have a site to use, so they'll use that or our parks on occasion. So I think they're out there today or tomorrow for running the mile at Bethel or something. So,
So,
but limited rental
yeah,
capacity.
type uses. Over the years, it was a drop-in teen center or an after-school center for years. It's been the site of two different groups or different providers that provided tutoring services or sort of after-school homework club services. I guess we should do a tour there at some point in case you haven't been in. But there's multiple rooms in the building. We did have an inquiry kind of randomly a couple weeks ago from an employee of the federal government who's happens to be a biologist looking for an office space to rent. And we do have some rooms in there that are not that were office spaces that are sort of storerooms or maybe every once in a while place you could have a very small meeting or at least take a private phone call. But by and large, are just serving as a storeroom. And so we did show this one individual that space. We're not really, if in fact he wants to proceed with it. We did have him come and look at it and come back when preschool is in session, so we knew that there's kids running around. And he hasn't indicated that's something he wants to pursue further. I'm just mentioning to you because it would probably require just some minor changes to our either facility use policy or our rental guidelines, because those rooms were all set up to be like used by the hour. Like, okay, I want to, for example, that room at one point was used by people who were tutoring, and they say, well, I want it 2 hours a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 4, and it was $5 an hour or whatever it was to use the room.
So I have this non-understanding. We have the area next to the Park and Recs.
The
Where
big room.
the big room.
Community center? I'm sorry.
No, in
Yeah,
the same facility.
Yes, the main room, yeah.
We have the women's center that we're replacing the stove at,
Yeah, yeah.
okay? Like that building's empty 99% of the time. So can't we put some of the operations that happen next to you in that room over in the women's center and then use that space for something else? I mean, it seems like it's not a good use of space. I mean, it seems like we could do something else with the space next to you. I mean, first of all.
At the community center?
Okay, okay.
I think what you're asking is, could maybe like say preschool operate out of the community center instead of out of Parks and Rec?
Right.
Yeah, no, there's carpet. You definitely don't want a preschool in a carpeted room.
And
That we rent to a community.
And the other thing is the room we have these, like this, it's sort of, there's a lot of permanent, preschool has a lot of permanent improvements. Not necessarily that big room, but there's another room in the middle of the building that looks like a preschool room. It's got little tiny tables and
Yeah.
all this craft stuff that's there. It's kind of a
Are we
permanent.
making money off of that?
Oh, yeah, they rent.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
So
do.
there's occasions where there might be some overlap, right? Well, maybe I have an opportunity to rent something and I'll just move it over to the community center if it's available. But like this guy who's interested in renting an office space, right, he doesn't need a large space. But he will need, you know, a space. We have a small room in the back that he'd be able to use, right, that was designed to be an office. We could not put him at the community center, there's no internet.
Right.
Right, so, there's a lot of, you know, there are times where I've got two sports boards meetings, right? Like it's a basketball draft and a soccer meeting, so I'll move the soccer meeting over to the community center if it's available, right? But with the number of rentals that we have there, it's much better for us to make money on a rental at a community center than to put an in-house program over there. Just, it makes us more money, it's more lucrative.
What are the restrictions when using that community center too?
Yeah.
Because it's deeded to us, right?
Yeah, I think the only
What are-
one that I'm hyper aware of really is that the women's group gets to meet at the community center for free in perpetuity, so.
Yeah, we.
Because they
performed-
built it,
We
we,
performed their setup and cleanup. It was
Yeah.
kind of a like part of the deal.
yeah,
I can provide, I can look up that agreement. There's one other strange arrangement that I'm aware of, and that is, the church across the street, when it was going through an expansion, didn't have enough parking, and
oh,
there was some sort of deal where we said our parking is largely available on Sundays, but nobody really parks there. But that's also on the, there's an agreement that says the parking is available to the church. But again, it's not, I don't think it's used, parking lot's not used by the church, it's just for the purposes of getting their expansion approved.
And does the daycare use the entire space? I should probably come over and
They're
look
in
at
the
this.
middle, so there's the office stuff on one
Here,
side,
yeah.
and then you have the middle where everybody comes into the window, and then you have big space, I think that's what you're thinking of. There's another additional space kind of in the middle of the buildings, and that's where the preschool is currently located, so it's not taking up that
Entire thing.
entire space
entirety
that
of the
you're,
big room.
the entire, was it the
Right,
left side?
'cause I have,
Or the book
my
room.
kids used
Where the
to
book
do.
room, yeah.
Yeah.
My kids used
So I
to
think
go
that's the
there,
room
but
you're thinking
yeah,
of,
where
right?
they
Yeah.
used to have pool tables in there,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's the big room.
that's the
not
big,
in here.
yeah.
Daycare, I mean, the preschool does use that room
Yes, we do.
intermittently. You know, we don't book something else in that room when preschool's in session.
Correct.
But it's not, their stuff isn't necessarily permanently located. The room is, well, I mean, there's stuff in there, but it's mostly an open space.
Yeah, yeah. The big deal is that it's, because it's a licensed facility and a licensed program, we can't have, you know, unattended adults in there, right? This guy would have to get fingerprinted for the preschool, right? In order to have him in there because he'll have access to these kids, right? So we don't typically have folks in the building during the preschool hours, right? Even when our utility crew comes and needs to walk through, we have to walk them through, right? Because if licensing shows up, we have to, you know, yeah. So the preschool, because of that, because there's not other uses, they tend to like use all the spaces, right? They can break into smaller groups and do different play spaces in different areas of the building. If I had, you know, when we have soccer balls delivered, right? We get, you know, 1,000 soccer balls delivered, and I need to take up some space, right? The mountain, Red Vine Mountain, exactly. When we have big, large deliveries or things like that, and I need them to stay out of a certain space, they're very, you know, it's easy to accommodate that, right? But yeah, because we can't have other programs operating simultaneously, they tend to take up whatever space we can allot them, or whatever space they have available to them, so.
Okay.
Do you want to just, but there were just other programs?
Yeah, I was just gonna
other than the
say,
building?
yeah, so, we do have other programs coming up. We did just announce our, lineup for concerts in the park this summer. Waste management coming in at the presenter level, big deal, adding a few of those. Thank you for that. And maintaining the, long-standing agreement for dropping off the trash and recycling receptacles so that we can put them out every night and bring them back and have them picked up in the mornings. Not the receptacles, but the actual, you know, items placed in there, so thank you for that. So then we have a really good lineup this year, I'm actually very excited, so, we've got some sponsors for some really great bands, to come in that we would otherwise be unable to afford. Clutter to Cash, April 27th is coming up, a community-wide yard sale, was specifically chosen on a date not to interfere with other community-wide yard sales. So those, signups are coming in. we're looking at the possibility of having a site at the rec department so we can, maybe get rid of some of our extra sports equipment that is starting to build up a little bit on a donation level. Basketball finished, this past Saturday, on the March, whatever, 2nd or 3rd, whatever day that is. Softball starts this Saturday, opening day. Big thanks to Bill Gaines letting us borrow some audio system for that, so I can get on a mic. We're gonna start flag football registration in 2 weeks. Always staring down the pipe at soccer because it's so consuming, so. Yeah, lots of excitement happening, lots of excitement. Fences up at the park for softball season. Which starts on Saturday. Trying to wrap my head around that. Just got back from Palm Springs. John and I went for California Park and Rec Society conference, which was actually a really good conference. They did a great job this year, so. Yeah, so lots of
Monster, yeah, Monster
knowledge.
coming up.
Monster is coming up April 6th in Templeton. I think we're kicking it off. I think we're the opener in April 6th here in Templeton, which is exciting. Then we go all throughout the county. We're going to Templeton, Atascadero, Morro Bay, Los Osos, Napomo. We got in at the Napomo skate park this year. It's a brand new skate park, so very exciting to get in there. And then we'll finish it at SLO. So.
And Cambria's gonna have a skate park. at some
Cambria's
point.
working on getting a skate park. Skate Cambria is part of Monster. They come in and have like informational booths and things, so big supporters. So it's very exciting what's on the horizon for Cambria. I think it's gonna be really cool.
Good.
Really cool. I've been working with them a little bit on suggestions, like not putting your skate park in a tucked away area of your community.
Yeah,
You know,
it's.
out front and center, right in the middle of town, put some lights out, make sure everybody knows what's happening. right?
It's on Main Street, my
Yeah,
dear.
yeah,
Right
yeah,
smack
exactly.
on
Looks
Main
like, I was
Street.
just there, it looks like there was like a little mudslide down that hill, it got kind of covered after the rains, so. Yeah, they're very excited, very excited.
So, okay. Good job. Let me see, we have to go back to item number 1, which was, appointment of committee chair and vice chair. I didn't want to appoint myself chair without you being here, or you chair without you being here.
That's how you get to be chair, right? You miss a meeting.
You missed it. That's how it
Look
is.
what you're in charge of.
I came into a meeting one time on a local group here and they put me as the secretary. It was like,
Wasn't even here to take minutes.
this was before automated stuff, but anyway. Up to you, I'll be chair because I know you have like a list this long unless you really want to be
No,
chair.
that's fine.
Okay,
So we have a vice chair then as well,
yes.
by default.
By default, yes. So, I think that was it. Future agenda items, do you have any
Oh,
suggestions?
I think you wanted to also wait until Khalid was here to speak about whether or not there was interest in doing a tour with Waste Management.
Oh, are you interested in doing a tour with Waste Management?
I sure have toured all the other facilities and whatnot. so.
Yeah, I think there is. I would just, Khalid works, I work.
We'll work around your schedule.
Figure it out, yeah.
Yeah.
Happy to host whenever it's appropriate.
Okay, well, maybe we'll try to incorporate that with the next, with a future committee meeting. And we could just, be either the beginning of it or the end of it or something like that, and if somebody would travel. It would just realize that, if it's part of the committee meeting, it's gonna have to be open to the public. You saw how many came today.
As long as you're okay with, we'll send some guidelines for safety,
Sure.
in terms of walking around the facility.
Closed-toed shoes and.
Yeah,
We
we'll
got
get you a flashy vest and we go through the
Nice
MRF, we get you a hard hat and some glasses, so.
I think I got a few in stock.
I had a question, so we're on future agenda items. I don't know if it's this committee or the facilities, but to talk about the park and rec building and kind of some of the
Uses.
maintenance, well, not just usage, but just maintenance. The ceiling was kind of looking a little rough and some walls and it needs some love. I just don't know if this is the committee or if facilities is the committee to talk.
I mean, either could, but I mean, if you brought it up, we could do do you wanna incorporate a visit to that facility
Well, I'm there pretty
There you go.
regularly.
It's part of the committee, it's kind of the whole
The
committee.
committee, maybe, I think we need to shed some light on some of that and the need on that and start discussing maybe next steps to do that, especially if we're going to be renting out and inviting others to.
I think we could use a coat of paint too.
Yeah,
the facade needs
the
some
exteriors, of all the buildings are getting there.
Yeah.
That's an expensive item.
Yeah. So I don't know how to start talking about it, so.
The facilities.
Put it on for the budget review too. Some of the regular maintenance that needs to be happening too.
The facilities committee is just starting, we just sent out in, because I'm on that committee with Deborah, I think. Wayne. Oh, with Wayne. And so, if we can agendize it to discuss the Park and Recs building, specifically the maintenance that needs to be taken care of there. And, I wanted to look at, we have I don't know if I can talk about this under the Brown Act, but looking at, our fire department expansion will probably never happen because of the cost of $5 million or more. Is there a way of relocating things so that maybe fire could take over other portions and we could use portions that aren't being used right now? And I think that needs to be on the facilities committee agenda too, is just to begin looking holistically at all our buildings that we own and where we can put people maybe more efficiently so that we could accommodate the male, female bathrooms and everything that we need for the fire department right now. So, okay.
I don't think we can discuss it, but you can bring it up. That's what I
Yeah.
learned.
Yeah, we'll make a note to include some sort of, I think we've got some sort of, for the facilities committee, some sort of a big picture.
Right.
Look at the various facilities.
Okay. And I would like to stop by Park and Recs. I don't know if I can today, maybe tomorrow. I gotta get a picture in my head and all those rooms. It's been quite a few years since my kids are up and grown.
Oh yeah, we had a whole expansion. So there's a back room now. Come on by,
Okay, will do.
Tuesday through Friday.
9 AM to 6 PM.
Yeah, I know there. Okay,
I think that's it.
that's
Tell
it.
me.
Okay, cool. Adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks. Thanks for your.
Yeah. Stuck in there.